So tonight we're going to be talking about
Resident Evil.
We're doing this to build some hype for the long-awaited Resident Evil 9, which comes out next week. Which, by the way, there are early copies of circulating already, and there have been some major spoilers floating around on the web, so just keep an eye out and be careful. But no spoilers here today, because we're just simply going to be talking about Resident Evil characters from the past, and what I think they would listen to. What music does every Resident Evil character listen to in their free time? Now, I made a Reddit post about this same topic a couple of weeks ago, so if you hear this and say, hey, this seems pretty familiar, just know that that was me and I'm not plagiarizing. So let's start/preface this list with a bit of a unique entry. I'm just gonna start by saying Mr. X exclusively listens to X Gon' Give It To You by DMX on repeat. It's like, it's built surgically into his head where it's just constantly playing. But now that that's out of the way, let's talk about our golden boy, Leon. Now, when talking about the tastes of these characters, we have to consider the year they were born, the era they grew up in, their formative years, what they would be listening to at the time, and that taste would likely carry into their later years. Not for all of these, for sure, but I'm just gonna interpret how I think their personalities would shape around the music of their young adulthood, but in some cases, it's more adulthood. But anyways, I digress. For Leon, we're going, I think Leon listens to, like, 90s grunge, emo, anything kind of edgy. Yes, while Leon has a charismatic edge to him, he's also kind of dramatic at the same time. Like he's constantly tortured, and who wouldn't be after going through RCPD? But yeah, straight away, I think Leon listens to Nirvana, especially In Utero is his favorite album. I think he listens to 90s emo like Sunny Day Real Estate, maybe some Cap'n Jazz, including some industrial rock like Nine Inch Nails. He listens to OK Computer by Radiohead and the Bends, of course. And as well as I think he listens to some Deftones in there as well. But yeah, Leon listens to heavy, moody 90s music. Moving on to Chris Redfield. Chris doesn't really strike me as a music guy. But if or when he does listen to music, I think he listens to, like, straight butt rock, straight post-grunge. Maybe some classic rock in there because canonically him and Claire are Queen fans. But I think that Chris, with his tortured, kind of bro-y, soldier-like attitude, he would listen to, like, Breaking Benjamin, Stone Sour, Creed, 3 Days Grace, and probably some nu metal as well, like Papa Roach. But when he's not listening to that, he's probably listening to some classic rock. But I think that especially in his like Resident Evil 6 era, Resident Evil 8 era, he's listening to straight 2000s post-grunge butt rock. Moving on to his partner in crime, Jill. I think despite not really being in any games with him, I think Jill is kind of the female counterpart to Leon. She always has kind of a brooding mood, and I think she probably listens to a lot of kind of moody, dreamy, shoegazy, female-led artists like Slowdive, the Cocteau Twins, and some other moody 90s alt bands like the Cranberries, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and Mazzy Star. She likes it kind of slow, moody, kind of heavy. So yeah, that's my read on Jill. Moving on to Claire Redfield. Now I also think that Claire likes heavy female-led rock bands, alternative bands, but I think she likes it more like upbeat, more fast-paced. Bands like No Doubt, Bikini Kill, Jack Off Jill, Sleater Kinney, and more recently Paramore. She just kind of has that badass kind of attitude that I think that type of music kind of coincides with. Moving on to Ada. Now, Ada's very mysterious, very femme fatale. She seems like she knows more than the average hoi polloi. My bet is that she listens to trip hop and experimental art pop, or at least those are her favorites. I think she listens to Portishead, Bjork, Massive Attack, Hooverphonic, as well as I think her vibe really fits Imogen Heap. That's what I think Ada listens to. Now, Rebecca is a little bit harder of an egg to crack. I can see her going one of 3 different ways. So my first instinct told me that she's kind of like a cutesy girly that would probably listen to stuff like, you know, the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Britney Spears, Spice Girls, Christina Aguilera, maybe some Destiny's Child. That was my original read of her. But I can see it going 2 other ways. She is a little bit of a know-it-all and a very kind of nerdy type as well. And I can see her also being super into classical music, but maybe that I can see maybe she listens to she appreciates classical music, but when she wants to have more fun, maybe she'll listen to some of the more girlier pop stuff that I was talking about. But also I can see her being into, in the 90s at least, I could see her being into like Eurodance and maybe later some nightcore. So yeah, I think her taste might be a little bit broader, but probably one of those 3 categories. Now, like Rebecca, Wesker is also a little bit hard to crack, or maybe he's not so hard to crack, but it's hard to decide which of, I think, 2 different ways he could go. Now, part of me thinks that he's a massive edgelord, and he listens to like heavy music with a bit of a horror edge. Like, he listens to Avenged Sevenfold, Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper, especially 90s Alice Cooper. And he probably listens to like a little Disturbed as well, which this taste is a little bit different, but also kind of in spirit similar to Chris's taste, and I think that kind of makes sense to me. But also, like Rebecca, I can also maybe see Wesker being like,
why would I be wasting my time listening to music when I could be enacting global saturation?
But also, like, maybe he listens to classical music because he thinks that pop music or rock music is too mainstream, and he's very elitist, so maybe he thinks that classical music is the only good music or something, I don't know. But that would also maybe bring him and Rebecca together, their shared interest in classical music, and maybe that's why, one of the reasons why he has that picture of her in his desk. Moving on to my boy Ethan. Now, apparently, in Ethan's house at the beginning of Resident Evil 8, you can actually find a bunch of jazz records that he has, so I guess canonically, Ethan does like jazz, which is cool, but I don't know, something about his age and the way he dresses and his demeanor just like, it just screams like Coldplay fan to me. I think he listens to Coldplay, The Fray, Goo Goo Dolls, Keen, and Snow Patrol, like very 2000s soft rock. He might be a jazz head, but you cannot convince me that he doesn't listen to that stuff as well. Moving on to Carlos. Now, I think Carlos would have a really good taste in music, being that he kind of has a rebel attitude and he literally rebels against a government agency that he's working for. I would say he listens to very rebellious music, a lot of punk like Black Flag and the Dead Kennedys, as well as other heavy anti-government bands like Rage Against the Machine, System of a Down. Maybe he even spins American Idiot now and then, but I feel like he probably would have thought that Green Day sold out at that point. But I bet he also listens to some rebellious hip-hop as well, like Public Enemy or NWA perhaps. Now let's talk about Ashley. Ashley 100% gives me like Nelly Furtado, Fergie, Gwen Stefani, Justin Timberlake. I don't know what you call that genre exactly, but like that specific era of 2000s pop music, Ashley just has that written all over her. She might listen to like Kelly Clarkson and Avril Lavigne as well from time to time. And finally, we can't forget about Barry. Everyone forgets about Barry. Now Barry, being an older character, I think even by the 90s he was in his 40s maybe in the first game, I don't really know for sure. But Barry's definitely a classic rock guy. Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, Lynyrd Skynyrd, AC/DC, The Who, Maybe some progressive rock like Rush, maybe some Pink Floyd, Yes. But yeah, that's Barry for you. But those are all the characters that I got. I'm really looking forward to Resident Evil 9. I've been waiting for this for years, like many of you. And I'm interested in what Grace would probably listen to. But we'll find that out soon enough. But as always, thanks for tuning in to this silly little video, and we'll talk soon.